Hello, everybody, and welcome to Co-Creation Station, the podcast where we talk about the law of attraction, the art of allowing, spiritual magic, the mind-body-spirit connection, and how to best enjoy this magical, miraculous, wondrous, sometimes confounding, but always entertaining journey we call life. My name is Collin. I am a tarot oracle card reader, teacher, and musician, and I'm in North Hollywood, California.
My name is Stephanie, and I am a transformational life coach, and I help people shift away from negative thinking and their lives transform. And I'm in San Diego, California.
And this week we have my sister, Dr. Kelley Worster, who is a chiropractor. Kelley, where are you coming from?
I am in sunny Portland, Maine.
Sunny, and it's October. Well, yeah, October.
It's cloudy here.
Even though
is it sunny in San Diego?
It's mostly sunny with a little bit of clouds.
We're overcast here in North Hollywood, so we're doing this intro because we're actually doing the intro. We're recording the intro after the episode because Stephanie and I started in our friend time like we normally did. We were on just normal friend stuff for maybe 6 minutes. And then we leaped into this whole discussion about spiritual time and paradoxes and Wayne Dyer and all this stuff. and then my sister, Kelley, joined us. And Kelley, you came on board. Stephanie and I were already in this conversation. And we just yanked you right into that conversation and started talking.
And Collin clicked record.
I clicked record because I was
like, recording.
There's no reason to interrupt this with an intro. But we wanted to have a proper intro so you know that this is the beginning of the episode. So and hopefully somehow I'll figure out how to edit this together because I'm not a video editor. And we don't have anybody helping us do this, but
and we're open to attracting one. So if you're listening and you have any editing capabilities and want to support Co-Creation Station with Collin and Stephanie, we'd love to hear from you at our email, cocreationstation@gmail.com. Or
thank you.
Or what do you say? Just send us a little.
Put a comment on the video.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I think that was a very nice demonstration, Stephanie. Well done. So we're going to hopefully piece this together, but what you're going to see is we're literally in mid conversation. You'll probably see all three of our faces go, oh, we're recording. And then we'll just keep talking. So without further ado, here's the rest of this episode. We hope you enjoy it.
Intuitive dream about it. Okay. And so that's what we were talking about is everything predetermined and how do we
we started out
getting information how
Kelley knows,
I've had downloads.
Kelley actually is familiar with how we started out because I've been talking to her about this on Voxer, which is we started out talking about the tool that I found on page 8 of the frickin' Vajah Visions, Goals, Actions, Vajah worksheet. So we started out talking about that, and Stephanie got into...
No, we did. Oh, yeah, you did.
Yes, we did.
You brought it up. Yes, you're right. And which triggered something that I've been thinking
Stephanie
about.
went into this whole quantum physics thing about... But it was a really good discussion. She was talking about... Well, you tell her. All right, now you tell her your part.
Okay, I'm my head's kind of split right now because I'm we're recording and I'm do we have to do the whole intro thing? But okay, we're going fly now. So I was thinking how I was asking about time because I know time is a human made up thing, but then I'm also because I've had so I've had visions. I was thinking I'm presently having this experience for the last couple of years, and I'm reflecting back in 20 years ago or something, I was in the shower. I wonder if any of you have this experience where I get information.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just wondering why that is,
because water is a spiritual conductor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, bath and shower. It's where you get most of your it's a good place to get downloads.
So I've had multiples, and I was thinking about that experience going, that was 20 years ago. I was given some information about something that's going to happen in the future, and now I'm towards the end of that time, and I'm oh shit, so how is everything already happened? Is everything happening now? I was just trying to wrap my brain around that experience, and because I've had other things happen, we're going to talk about indicators today. So I've had, we've all had indicators, and then
I don't think we're going to get to that.
I've also been at a friend's house who her at the time boyfriend was in a multi-million-dollar home, and we were in the home. We were gonna watch a movie in their home theater, but we were finishing up dinner and we were cleaning the kitchen. And I was standing at the kitchen sink, and I had been it was a wonderful experience to be in this lush environment, abundant environment, and I felt so comfortable in it. And I was standing at the kitchen, and we were all talking, and I was standing at the sink, and I go to turn around, and I'm telling them something, and in my third eye, I could see myself in a similar situation. It was my home. It was a very extravagant home. And I had two family members there, and we were having dinner, like we were finishing up kind of like what we were doing there. And it happened like that fast. And I was present with what was happening, but I also saw it. And I was like, whoa. And I didn't say anything to my friends. I just like took it in. And then we just, it was just so like, and in my knowingness, I saw a future experience in my life. And so I'm just baffled by, how does that happen? Like, I know it's connected to spirit, but so everything's already happened. That's where I'm trying to like wrap my head around. And then Collin was like, well, Wayne Dyer said this whole thing, and it's like, everything is predetermined and we have free will. It's a paradox, accept it, and don't get all tangled up in it.
Okay.
I think it's
yeah, we were talking about how, and again, this is just my belief, in accordance with what I've studied and learned and what's been true for me. I don't mean to push this onto other people, but it's just what I have come to believe, which is that when you have a deja vu, or when you have a dream where you very viscerally see something, and then you later, it actually happens that way, something like you experienced in the shower that day. Basically, we are, we as humans are weird creations in the sense that we are put into these human bodies to have this human experience that follows what we understand as clock time and calendar time, which is, I'm not so sure it's accurate to say it's made up. That's a simplification, maybe not an oversimplification, but essentially it's our way of understanding how things work on this human journey in terms of how things proceed. There's a yesterday and there's a today, and we know there'll be a tomorrow if we wake up tomorrow. So it's necessary for us to be sort of separated from Spirit's omniscient, all-powerful understanding of the whole picture, because otherwise we would experience everything. We would be everyone. We would be totally in bliss. Like, we wouldn't need to have adventures or anything like that. We'd just be like, we'd be the whole collective all together, and we'd be super happy, and there'd be no reason to do anything, basically. So we've been split into these like human experiences, on Earth, at least we know of, maybe other planets, who knows, over time, over historical time. And we are born and we die and all that, so that we can have these weird, crazy, interesting journeys. But we're also spirits, we are somehow completely connected to a spirit. And I don't know how to even talk about that, like inside of us, but it's like, even saying that makes it sound like an object that's in us.
And I've heard it's more outside of us. It's not inside of us.
Yeah, I mean, it's
in that.
I mean, a lot of things with regard to spirit are hard to talk about in human language because they defy human language to a certain extent. But
exactly.
The idea is like, somehow we are also spirits, and that means we're connected to the great spirit, like higher power. And that means we're connected to the thing that sees it all, understands it all, knows how it's all going to play out, whatever. So my current understanding of like when you have deja vu or these dreams or these visions like you're talking about is that, you're in alignment at that moment. You've released all resistance to your inner being, your inner spirit, the thing that's connected to the all-knowing force. And you get like a direct, like, kind of thing from the sort of the higher spirit, higher power, greater collective, whatever. You get that sort of download, and that's what's happening in that moment. Is you're actually able to see something that's future on your human clock time, calendar time, timeline, because you're not totally just your human self at that moment. You're actually
Got it.
super connected to
Got it. Okay.
whatever.
Okay.
And I mean, that goes right along. I mean, so
Thank you, Collin.
essentially,
You did it. That was like, I get it now. Yeah.
hey, you know.
Yeah.
But like that's essentially goes right. I mean, that is the art of allowing. Like basically, what you're doing is you're allowing
Yeah. Totally.
spirit, higher
In
power,
my
whatever.
joy. In my joy. I
Yeah,
tapped
to
into
like
that.
just sort of.
Yeah. And
And you didn't.
know.
Yeah, you didn't
So it happened.
specifically ask for it, but that happens. I've talked about to me that happens all the time. Where I'm like, I'll see something on the internet. It's like, oh, it'd be cool to have that, but I have it's not one of my top 10. It's not even remotely top 10. It's just like, oh, that's cool. And like, I will totally forget about it. And then 2 months later, I just get it in the mail from someone. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I didn't even put any energy into that. I didn't put it on a list. I didn't. And it's one of those things of like, we're talking about the grid. What I did was in response to seeing that thing, I had a thought, which was, that's cool. That would be cool to have. So that was my action, right? That was my inspired action. I mean, like when we say inspired action, even that's sort of a tricky thing because it makes it sound like something I have to get inspired to do or whatever. There has to be something happening. It doesn't. Like it can literally be that I'm just walking around and I see a car that I like and I'd be like, oh, that'd be cool to have someday. And then like a year later, my best friend is selling that exact car and I'm like, oh, but
I remember when.
Right. And that's one of the things where like when we talk about the art of allowing, sometimes it's and I understand why we do this because so many people are stuck in trying to control results in a human way, in a non-energy, non-spiritual way. That this is why Abraham talks about, just go take a nap, because you're not going to try to control anything with your logical mind when you're taking a nap. So the universe has freedom at that point, and that's what you want, right? But the reality is like part of our human journey is being awake and wanting things and having some sort of inspired action, and then also doing the allowing part. And so I think where a lot of people get tangled up is they either don't do anything or like they take no action, but they're sending out a vibration of resistance. So it's not like ease that Abraham talks about, where you have a desire and then you go take a nap, but you're not taking a nap saying, I know I'll never get this thing, so I'm going to take a nap. You're feeling good. You're like, I would love that. And then you go take a nap and you're allowing the universe free from your resistance to like bring that thing in. Right. And so, I mean, I think this is my thing that I've recently come to about time, which is that it's much easier to understand how that works with money, because we just, I don't know, for some reason as humans, at least in this time, we just like money's easier to understand. But money's the same thing. Like money in a way is made up. We talked about this in the friend time before. The only reason that I could, send Kelly $5 on Venmo right now, or what are we using? The Cash App. We're using the Cash App. And Kelly accepts it and can go do something else with it, is because everyone around the world has agreed that when you have something that gives you dollars, that allows you to go do other things with it. If we all stopped agreeing with that intellectually, it would just be a text message. It wouldn't have any value at all, But spirit actually somehow uses money as a way of passing energy around, transmuting it and passing it around so that we can have different experiences. We can get different things that we enjoy, certain things, food, all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, what we understand with money with regard to the law of attraction, the art of allowing, is that the best way, like if you want to, let's say you want to go on a vacation, if you want to know what your inspired action is, your inspired action might be one of the possibilities is find out how much that vacation costs, right? Go online, look it up. It's $2,600, and then start saving whatever you can out of your paycheck every 2 weeks or something like that. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to save up that exact amount. Like you could win the vacation, right? You could win the vacation. Like if you're Stephanie, you would win the vacation way before you'd save up enough, right? But the inspired action is you putting that $20 every 2 weeks from your paycheck into the bank account. So that's your part of we talked about with Abraham, the grid. So my part in terms of inspired action with the grid would be, I'm going to put $20 in my checking or savings account to try to get towards this vacation. That's not me controlling the vacation to happening as a human. That's just me working with the energy of time and saying, okay, I'm gonna do this thing. I'm gonna put money in there, and then I'm gonna not time, money. I'm working with the energy of money, and I'm saying I'm gonna take this inspired action of putting this money away, and I'm gonna understand that then the universe is gonna deliver this vacation to me. It could be that I end up saving all the money, or it could be some other thing, or it could be like I save up half of it and then I find a deal, something like that, So I mean, I think that's easy for people to understand. What's not easy for people to understand is, well, how do I do that with time? Like if I want to become, if I have I'm just trying to think of a hypothetical example.
Whoa.
Like I want, this is hard because money comes into it and I don't want to confuse the two. But let's say I want to become like an expert in some sort of field, right? And I don't know anything about it. I've just become passionate. I watched a documentary on YouTube or something, and I'm like, this is what I want to devote my life to. And I want to get a abundantly paying career, as this kind of expert, okay? That's something where like, I can't really just sit around all day and feel good and go to the beach and become an expert, right? Do you agree or no?
I mean, if it's been an interest of your, like if it's a passion or an interest or, something you've been, but if you just learned of it in that moment, probably not.
Yeah.
It'd be a longer journey.
Yeah. So like if I know nothing about quantum physics, but I want to become a professor of quantum physics, right? That's my desire. And let's assume that this is a real spiritual desire. It's not just an intellectual thing. Correct. That if I literally went to the beach and all I did was lay on the beach all day long and then I went to bed, that would not happen and the reason is,
it'd be struck by lightning and all of a sudden become this quantum physics.
I mean, but here's what I mean by that is like, by using the beach example there, what I'm trying to say is if I like as a human, like did something action wise that ended up being a clear resistance, you know what I mean? Like if friends were coming to me and going, oh, well, I know my brother is a quantum physicist. And I'm like, nope, I'm going to the beach.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Like that isn't going to work, right? I've got to be open to that. So the thing about was the whole start of this conversation was the whole thing about spiritual time planning, I guess we'll call it, is the recommendation that I recently discovered was you just take a piece of paper, you write what you want at the top of the piece of paper. You write what you think are the major action steps to accomplishing that goal. But that's your human part. You understand from the get-go that there's going to be the universe and spirit are going to have a whole other part that you don't have to worry about. Like you don't have to write that part down. What you have to write down is what you think the action steps are. And then within that, you write down little tiny action steps that would be required to accomplish the major action steps. And again, your part only, not the spirit, not spirits, not the universes, whatever. And then you write, and so here's the part about the parallel here is like, just like I was putting $20 a week or every 2 weeks from my paycheck. Here's how I do that with time. I write a date next to each tiny step on the plan. And what that will do is that gives me a date down at the bottom when I do the last tiny step, my part, when that thing will be done. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm actually going to get that thing that's at the very top that I want, that I started on that exact date. But what it does is it starts a relationship with spirit, with higher power, however you understand that, where I am now spiritually working with time. Because what I'm doing is what I'm saying is spirit, higher power, whatever your understanding of that is, I know time is really your gig. It's your area. I understand that. But I also realize that I have some sort of spiritual relationship with it. So I'm going to do this little list and I'm going to put dates down here. And then I am going to adjust it however you show me. So this would be the same as if the whole example of me saving for the vacation, if I'm halfway done with my savings and my coworker at my job says, oh my God, I just found about this amazing deal where you can go to Croatia for half of what. So, I mean, I still had to put the $20 every 2 weeks in the bank account because that's what felt to me in my heart. Like that was my spiritual action, right? But then it led to the thing coming financially sooner. Like I'm still going to have to pay what I saved up, but it's financially coming easier than I thought. I thought it was going to cost $4,000. Now it's going to cost $2,000. So it's the same thing with time. So if I have a plan to become a quantum physicist and it's going to take 10 years, there may be a whole bunch of shortcuts that happen over time. If I'm really if I'm practicing the art of allowing, if I'm in a good vibration, if I'm open, there may be all sorts of shortcuts where it's like all of a sudden I get a scholarship to go study in London with one of the experts or whatever.
Or you're at the beach and you happen to sit next to someone who's in that pool.
Exactly. That's where
information that that stuff happens all the time too. Well, and it comes back to putting your attention, and attention to something creates it. Spirit comes, law of attraction is responding, and so the next thing will happen, or something else will happen, or like you said, I'm thinking of a red car, and then I drive down the street, and all I see is red cars.
Yeah, I think what I'm trying to get to though is like, just like money is a big barrier for people. It's an intellectual thing that allows people to create resistance because they think they have beliefs like I can't afford it, it's too expensive. I can never make enough money to whatever. That's only for rich people, whatever.
For that.
Same thing with, I think the same thing happens with time. People use time the same way, and it's even more sinister because there's a lot more, like with money, at least you could buy a lottery ticket and win $10 million. Like everybody can imagine actually winning $10 million in the lottery. We know it's statistically hard, whatever, but we can imagine that. But there are things like, well, that might take 20 years and I have a 3-year-old kid, so I can't do that. And what someone like that is doing, they're using time, like their human understanding of time of like, well, if that takes 20 years and I have to devote most of my day to taking care of my child, I'm not going to have any time to do this thing, blah, blah, blah. So they're using time in this intellectual way as resistance. And so this tool of writing what you want at the top and then just writing all the tiny steps that you think are your part and putting a date next to them is a way of like breaking out of that. Just the same way as like when you and I have experienced people just put $5 in your savings account and just keep doing it. Don't worry about the fact that that's only the vacation's $4,000 and you're only putting $5 in. Don't worry about that. Your $5 is your spiritual action saying, I don't see how this is possible from my limited human perspective, but I know the spirit can do anything and I'm connected to spirit. And so if I do my spiritual part,
trusting that there's.
So that's all I was trying to say.
And Civil Shin actually talks about this exact thing. I was reading her book a lot yesterday, and she talked about the law of completion and that being a big part of manifesting. So the law of completion, she defined as whatever you demand is a perfect and complete idea in divine mind. So like Stephanie, you say on this podcast all the time, is done. You put it out to the universe, it is done. It must manifest by grace in a perfect way. And so she said demonstration. So one of the things that she talked a lot about in the book was demonstration. This demonstration is the spoken word of your demands upon the universe, your vision, what you want. And you can use affirmation to demand the lead, saying infant spirit, God, spirit, universe, reveal to me the way, let me know if there's anything for me to do. In the 21st century, I hear a lot of people say, give me a cosmic 2x4. And I'm like, ooh, don't do that. How about a cosmic billboard?
Oh, I like that, Kelly. Yeah.
So the principle of making the demonstration, of making your demand upon the universe, is the spoken word. She talked a lot about the word is your wand, was the name of one of her books.
Okay.
The power of the spoken word is the name of one of her books. So that she talked about, that is the power that man has. And so she said demonstration, so that demand upon the universe is often delayed due to a belief in incompletion, meaning you don't believe that it is a perfect and complete idea in the divine mind. You don't believe it's already done.
Could you read that again, that last part?
Sure. The demonstration, the spoken word, the demand upon the universe, is often delayed due to a belief in incompletion. But there is a law. She talks about a law of completion, which is when whatever you demand is a perfect and complete idea in divine mind. it must manifest by grace in a perfect way. That may look different than what we think it's going to look like, but we give our request, our demand upon the universe, and it is done. And so if you don't believe it's done, then that can be delayed.
It down, right?
Manifest, yep.
Because we've talked about this before. I believe now, because it's happened, I believe I'm going to win. Not all the time do I believe, but when I believe, it happens, because I have belief, which is non-resistance. When I have doubt, it's resistance, and it slows it down.
And I think a lot of people get tangled up in that, and I understand why. I think I understand why Florence Scovel Shinn, who, by the way, is somebody who wrote a lot about the law of attraction in 1900, something like that.
So it has it has all of them in one.
Yeah, this is the Florence Scovel Shinn reader, and it has all 4 of her books.
So The Game of Life, Your Word is Your One, The Secret Door to Success. I like that title. The Power of the Spoken Word.
Yeah, this is great. If you ever just want to feel good, I mean, just whip this out. I mean, it's full. It's just full.
I'm gonna have to get that one.
Any page you open it, it's like, oh my gosh,
Kelly,
the power of the word.
Would you take a picture of it and send it to me?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. Well, I feel like...
Or we could just watch the video after, because we're recording this.
I feel as though we just did a episode, because Collin and I had decided we were going to do 2 episodes today. And I was going to text you, Kelly, and say, hey, do you have time to do 2 episodes today if we get into like flow and then we need, we could go on to another one? So I feel like, are you guys open to like closing this one out and then starting another one, Kelly, if you have time? And we could do 20 minutes, what have you, and talk about what we wanted to talk about today was demonstration, which you spoke about just now, Kelly, and then leap of faith and indicators.
Indicators, yeah. That's fine. I didn't realize we were recording already, but that's cool.
When I click the thing, Zoom is supposed to give you this like very loud announcement they usually give you. Maybe I had your volume down at that point or something.
Well, and we click got it, and so apparently
I did. I just thought that wasn't a natural starting point, so I just figured, he's just going to edit this.
It's not, because usually Collin does his whole spiel, and I was like, okay, he's not doing his spiel. We're just
we were too in the thick of it. Like we were already, Stephanie and I were already like 20 minutes into an episode before I hit the button. So I was like, I'm not going to wait any longer with my spiel. All right. Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode of Co-Creation Station. Thanks so much.
This is our first ever doing it this way.
Thank you so much for listening and or watching. We would love to hear from you. You can email us at cocreationstation1111@gmail.com, or if you're on YouTube, you can leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you. And we'll see you next time on Co-Creation Station, where we're obviously going to continue our conversation about all this fun stuff, including indicators. So stay tuned for that. Thanks so much and have a great week.